I always like reading about things that normal users with a little bit of code and like a small purchase at home can actually go out and test. The researcher Matthew Van Hoof put out a paper and also did a demonstration at BrewCon, which is a security conference in Belgium, Brussels. And basically what you can do is you can take very cheap, relatively cheap Wi-Fi commodity hardware, little USB ones you plug into the side of your laptop, a little bit of code he wrote, and turn your laptop into a Wi-Fi jammer. So this paper that he put together and the presentations and everything around it, they go into a little bit of like, transmission theory and things like exponential backoff in particular, which is something I learned back in school in the context of Ethernet, but it applies here as well. When you've got two people trying to talk at the same time, if you pick up the phone and start talking and there's like a little bit of lag, or you start talking over each other, people usually sort of stop and wait and figure out when they can come in and step in.
That never happens on the program here.
That never happens on the program.
It never happens on conference calls.
Absolutely not. 100% solved. But the whole idea is that people sort of know that that's the way they're supposed to behave. There's a protocol behind it. And literally there's a protocol here as well in Wi-Fi. And if you decide that you're not going to, and you're just going to keep talking and talking, everyone else will keep checking back in and saying, oh, wait, he's not done. Let me just I'll wait. And you can basically jam the entire channel that way. He actually goes into some interesting things about, I want to call it a capture effect. Is apparently if you're listening for a signal, if you've got two competing signals, the one that's the higher strength and lower bit rate will be the one that gets decoded. So if you want to jam effectively, you boost your power and you transmit at a slower bit rate, and whoever's trying to select between the signals will say, oh, that one's a lot easier. I'll listen to that guy.
You're curious. Now, I would have expected the higher signal, but the lower bit rate?
I think the lower bit rate is because it's easier to decode, and it's more likely that it's not random noise. I believe that's the case. I'm not very sure. I'm not the biggest expert on radio and transmission theory, but the work is all there if you want to go out and read it and grab the code. I mean, it's up on GitHub. So there's a couple other mechanisms he describes in the paper as well. They basically have to do with not behaving by the proper rules. And also, if you want to jam selectively, they devised a way of reading directly from memory so that you know it's a very small window. So if someone starts transmitting, you have to listen, figure out that someone's transmitting, figure out it's the person that you want to block that's transmitting, and then construct your jamming and transmit it before he's done talking. And there's an interesting mechanism for doing that, reading directly from memory instead of reading from somewhere. It was pretty cool. So I'm excited about this. I want to go home and try this myself because the code's out there. And I feel like if anybody had, if you're sort of just starting out and you want to play with this sort of thing, it's right there. It's available to you.
Make sure you're in a Faraday cage.
Yes, so use your local Faraday cage.
Climb in your microwave oven or something.
Right? To be a jerk.
What else can you do with this other than make everybody else's day miserable?
In a practical, in a real life, probably not too many things. Yeah. If you had your own wireless IDS and response system, if you wanted to include some of this within it, say if you had somebody who was trying to do DAuth attacks all the time, and you're able to isolate and say, this MAC address is a pain in my butt, I'd like to make sure that no one else is able to hear him, you might be able to use that as a response. Again, you are really attacking somebody who's transmitting, and there may be legal, there may be laws against that in your area. I am not a lawyer, sort of thing, but.
Well, I think perhaps another perspective here is useful. That is, understanding what attacks might be able to occur against Wi-Fi will help you to make understanding. Think about the CIA. Consider it not the agency, but the principles of security. That is the culinary. The confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you're developing a system and considering availability to be an important thing, and are considering the simplicity of Wi-Fi, you want to consider whether that really is a path you want to take. That is, understanding the attacks could be launched against it, help you make better judgment about what are the right choices to make in developing a system. That's the way I tend to look at that.